What can we do living meaningfully and courageously at the end of the world as we know it, Teotihuacan? I've got what I call the 5 L's for sane living. Love something, learn something, let go of something, laugh at something, and pass something forward. That sense of legacy. Love something green, love something other than human, love something more than human. Learn something. You can learn things. I've been learning about the rise and fall of civilizations these last 7.5 years. I've been learning about energy. I've been learning about ecology and overshoot. Been learning about abrupt climate change. You can learn practical skills, learn how to sew, learn how to can, learn how to garden. Let go of something. We can all get used to using less energy, less stuff, less stimulation. We can downshift. John Michael Greer calls it collapse now and avoid the rush. Laugh at something. Gallows humor is vital. Being able to keep a sense of humor is essential in these crazy contracting times. And legacy. You have gifts, you have skill, you have knowledge. Even if you're a young person, you have gifts and skills and knowledge that can be passed on to someone else. That sense of mentoring, that sense of passing on the knowledge and skills to others. Living meaningfully and courageously. Learn and feel together. Learn about deep adaptation. The subtitle is Deeply Adapting to Reality, post-Gloom. Deeply adapting to reality. Learn about deep adaptation together and feel the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Feel these with others. Find strength and support in community. If you're not familiar with deep adaptation, this paper, most academic papers have, a few dozen people read them. 750,000 people have read Jem Bendel's Deep Adaptation, A Map for Navigating Climate Tragedy. It was written in 2018, 2 years ago, and he's written some other things since then, but make sure you read this paper, please. It's absolutely fabulous. It's essential reading. Honor your sadness and grief, climate grief, expectations grief. If you're over 50, you probably have some sense of legacy grief. This is true for virtually all of us. And it's important to honor that, to not diss it, to not judge it. Grief requires us to know the time we're in. The great enemy of grief is hope. Hope is the 4-letter word for people who are unwilling to know things for what they are. Our time requires us to be hope-free, to burn through the false choice of being hopeful or hopeless. They are two sides of the same con job. Grief is required to proceed. And Joanna Macy says, the depth of your grief is the measure of your love. Beyond acceptance, Paul Chafurka, I mentioned him in the last program. I love Paul Chafurka's work. I've also recorded like 12 or 15 of his best hits. But finding the gift, beyond mere acceptance, what does it mean to find the gift? And then to find local love and action. I prefer this over activism. Love and action. What does love motivate you to do? How does love motivate you to be in action, to be a blessing to others? And then gallows humor. I first heard this from, I've known this, but the first person I heard this articulate as a stage of grief was Guy McPherson. And he talks about the importance of gallows humor, and I completely agree with him. Love and action. Relinquish human-centeredness and honor the living world as thou. You don't have to take the personification literally, just honor nature as a greater thou, not a lesser it. Grow in integrity, that is, grow in right relationship to reality. Grow in humility, authenticity, responsibility, and service. That's what I see as the fourfold DNA of integrity: humility, authenticity, responsibility, and service. So grow in integrity, that is, grow in right relationship to reality. And then fall in love with a place or a species and protect, foster, and defend it. When I speak in religious circles, I say protect, foster, and defend it from evil. And by evil, I mean simply those forces, the individuals or corporations or nations that harm the future for personal benefit. Hey, if the word evil doesn't apply to that, what are we thinking? Teddy Goldsmith, the author of The Way, an Ecological Worldview, he's got a really sobering quote. He says, "Isn't it astonishing that we can completely destroy this planet, make it uninhabitable, and ensure the extinction of our species and countless others without violating a single law? That's the thing. The playing field has been tipped for many, many, many decades, actually more than a century here in the United States. And now it's called legal evil. So what I call prophetic and redemptive, and there's nothing otherworldly. What I mean by prophetic is speaking on behalf of reality with unflinching authority. And redemptive, I simply mean action that can help redeem our species within the body of life. And that's true even if we go extinct. That was doing something that can be a blessing to the larger body of life. Love and action. Because it's not just immoral, it is evil to irreparably harm the future for short-term personal or institutional gain. Yet we have a global economic system supported by governments on every continent and accepted by adherents of every faith, ensuring that it's not only legal to betray posterity, it's profitable, highly profitable. So, how do we live? What do we do? And how should we confront what is anti-future and thus evil? In other words, how do we protest and nonviolently resist modern day structural, organizational, and institutional, that is legal evil? Well, that's what Mahatma Gandhi was all about, confronting in a nonviolent, peaceful, loving way legal evil, structural injustice. That's what Martin Luther King Jr. was about. That's what Extinction Rebellion is about. And we can do things at a much more personal, small scale level. My wife is one of the world's experts in assisting trees in migrating north. I love this quote from Paul Hawken. He says, there's a rabbinical teaching that says that if you're told the world is ending and the Messiah has arrived, first plant a tree, then see if the story is true. And there's a field known as assisted migration, assisting trees. Turns out that the difference between hundreds of species of trees in North America going extinct this century and those same hundreds of species of trees surviving this century will entirely depend upon humans assisting them in migrating faster than any other animal will move its seeds. It's assisted migration. It's holy work, even if we go extinct in the next 20 years. And this is a major book, just came out in July of this month, just came out like a week and a half ago. Zach St. George, an award-winning journalist, The Journeys of Trees, a story about forests, people, and the future. And I'm so grateful because it features my wife, Connie, who's one of the leading point people in North America. It features her throughout the book. She's the main character of the book from the very first sentence throughout. Published by W.W. Norton, major publisher. So building topsoil and planting trees while nurturing community is perhaps the most holy work that we can be engaged in. Permaculture, agroecology, indigenuity, that's indigenous wisdom with ingenuity, and regenerative everything, regenerative agriculture, regenerative building, regenerative everything. These are pro-future disciplines. And I've interviewed some major people. Regenerative agriculture shifts the paradigm from competing with nature to partnering with nature, from disturbing the soil to protecting the soil, from monoculture to diversity, and from reductionistic to holistic. So love and action, relinquish human-centeredness and honor the living world as thou, grow in integrity, and fall in love with a place or species and protect, foster, and defend it. John Michael Greer speaks of less. We can all adapt to less energy, less stuff, less stimulation. Collapse now and avoid the rush. And complete your life and legacy. That is attending to what matters most. I mentioned before, when we accept mortality, when we cherish our own mortality and even our species' mortality, what matters most becomes really obvious, becomes blazingly obvious. We can all express gratitude, regrets, and care. And I encourage everybody to make a list of all the people that you're grateful for, all the people who have been a blessing to you, that have been a contribution to your life, and then just reach out to them and just thank them. Just even if you haven't talked to them, or write a letter, email, pick up the phone, but communicating gratitude, you can make somebody's month by communicating gratitude out of the blue. Care. Just simply, I made a list, 125 people that I wanted to reach out to, and I'm just reaching out a few a week where I'm just saying, hey, I haven't talked to you, we haven't communicated in a while. I don't want to take your life or my life for granted. Just wanted to check in, let you know that I'm thinking about you. How you doing? How's your family? Expressing gratitude and care is amazing. And then expressing regret, there's nothing more powerful. Well, expressing gratitude is pretty damn powerful, but expressing regret, make a list of the people who you've harmed or betrayed or had a negative impact on. In 12 step, they call it making amends, but it doesn't have to be official like that. Just reach out and communicate to people who you know you've had a negative impact on, and just simply say, hey, I just want you to know that if I could go back in time, I'd do it differently. I never apologized. I never let you know that I know that had a negative impact on you, and I'm really sorry. You can make somebody's month that way. There were two people that I did that with, and all I could say was, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I know what a shit I was. And I wish I could go back and do it again. Boom. That's powerful communication. Bonding can happen. Tears sometimes happen. Again, it's being complete with your life and your legacy.